Hey! Welcome back. I hope you're gonna enjoy this video as much as I am gonna enjoy making it. In this video, I'll be talking about the books that I wish I could read for the first time again. So these could be just vibes. These books could have just vibes, which is the reason why I want to read it for the first time again. Or they could have amazing characters, amazing world, amazing scenery, amazing vibes. Again, amazing vibes, because vibes are such an important thing. Because if a book doesn't give a good vibe, I'm not gonna like it. So vibes are important. Also, writing style is important. Anyways, I'm gonna talk about these books, and I hope you're gonna enjoy this video. Before I get on with the books, I do want to say taste is very subjective, and just because I like a book doesn't mean that you have to like a book. But I do think that maybe you could get some recommendation out of this. I think most of these books are pretty popular around the book talk and booktube community, but I basically only read famous, popular books, so I just hope you're gonna enjoy. First book that I want to talk about, that I want to read for the first time again, which I have very strong feelings towards, is obviously The Shadows Between Us by Tristan Levenseller, because this is my favorite book of all time. And yeah, I know I've talked about this enough times already on my channel, especially my book recommendation tag video, because I talked about this book a lot in there, but I just really wish I could read this book for the first time, because first time reading a book cannot compare to the second or third time reading a book. Like, no way. So this is about Alessandra, and Alessandra is done with being the second choice, second daughter, so she decides to take matters into her own hands. She's gonna marry the king. She's gonna seduce the king, basically. Then she's gonna marry him, and when she has married him, she will kill him and take the kingdom of his for herself. So that makes for a very interesting story. This is just purely vibes. It doesn't have a lot of shit going on. I understand why people will not like these characters, and I felt some annoyance towards these characters at times, but not enough for this not to be a 5-star read, you know. So I really enjoyed this book. Like, The next book is actually a special case in this video, because I want to read it for the first time again, right? Because that is basically what this video is all about. But, fun story, I actually gave this book 3.5 stars. So that would mean that I didn't really enjoy this book. Like, it was a fine book, but I really didn't love this book. Fun story, I think I could have loved The Bridge Kingdom so much, but I didn't, because I read it in one sitting. And that was my mistake. So I wish I could read it for the first time again and actually take my time reading this, because this has a very cool world building. And there's something with a bridge going on, because the book is called Bridge Kingdom. There's a bridge, and that has like a very important backstory to it. It has very important usage, the bridge, but I cannot remember what the bridge was used for, because I basically just read it in one sitting, and I do not remember a single thing about the story. What I do remember is that this was an assassination attempt story, but the assassination attempt didn't go through because something came up, I guess. So it's about Princess Lara, and she has an enemy, and she must be the one to bring him to his knees. So she is gonna try and kill him, but you know, something gets in the way. So this was like a very good book, but I wish I could have enjoyed it more, and I think I would have enjoyed it more if I read it like maybe in 3 days time, because then I would have really enjoyed the story, would have understood the story more than I did when I read it in one sitting. I actually have 2 books by the same author, but I wish I could read both these books by the same author again. And that is special, because usually I have one book by an author that I will really like, and then the next book will be fine, it will be good too, but it won't meet up to the expectations that I set for the book, because the last book that I read by the author was so incredibly good. So now that I said that, I'm going to talk about Beach Read. This is one of my favorite books, I think. This was very cool. It had very good vibes to it. It's a romance, but it had a lot of plot too. What I see with romance a lot is that a romance book doesn't necessarily have a good plot, but with this one there was depth. depth in it, and I really enjoyed that. And it wasn't just purely romance, it wasn't just purely smut. There was a story behind it all, and that is what I really enjoyed. Uh, this book is about two authors. They both have writer's blocks. They decide to write in each other's genre, and by doing that, they make up like a challenge for themselves to see who gets published first, who gets the most reads on their book. So that is basically what the story is about. So they have like competition going on, and it's just the other book by this author, which is Emily Henry. I think others can already guess this. It's Book Lovers by Emily Henry. So this is about Nora and Charlie, and Nora is a literary agent, and Charlie is an editor. But they are like kind of enemies or nemesises, whatever you would like to call it. Like, I feel like this wasn't like necessarily an enemies to lovers, more like they were each other's nemesis. So, do I remember what this was about? Not really, but I did tab it. Like, you cannot see it very clearly, but I did tab some parts. I really enjoyed this. So this also has a lot of depth in it, and it doesn't necessarily focus only on a romance. It also focuses on the relationship with Nora's sister, and they actually go through problems that are very relatable, and I really like that about this book, honestly. Like, this was a good book. It wasn't a 5-star read, though. I think I gave it 4 stars, because this happens a lot to me. When I get to the end of a book, when I get to the last 100 pages, I get kind of bored and I wish for a book to be over, because I'm just so excited to finish another book. So, or start another book. So this book, I had that same feeling. And when I don't get that feeling, and I really do not wish to finish a book because it's so good, I give it 5 stars. And that was the case with Beach Read. But that wasn't the case with Book Lovers. So 4 stars. Next book is a book that is frequently talked about, but I still wanted to mention it because I love the feeling that I got when I read this book. Like, I didn't want to put this book down. Like, I remember so clearly, I was at my cousin's. I was having a sleepover with my cousin, and every time that she went to the toilet, I read a page. Every time she went somewhere, I read a page because I was so addicted. I was on crack reading this book. This book had crack between the pages. So it was *The Court of Thorns and Roses* by Sarah J. Maas. I did try to read this for the second time around, but I found that I didn't necessarily really enjoy it the second time around. And also, I find that with Sarah J. Maas's books, the first book is like 4-star, 5-star read. But then it goes slowly downhill, fastly downhill after the second book. Because according to Mr. Free, the second book in the series, I also gave it 5 stars, but I felt like it was more like a 4.5-star read. And then the third book in the series, I gave that 3 stars because I didn't like it. Yeah. So, A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. The Beast kidnaps Feyre, and Feyre is our main character. So, Feyre has killed Wolf, but the wolf turns out to be a Fae. So the other Fae, the friend of that wolf, decides to take revenge and take her with him to the Fae world, as it is. So now Feyre is taken prisoner by a high Fae lord, which is spectacular, I guess. And her masked captor is hiding even more than the Piercing Gaze suggests. But then there's a romance going on between those two. So yeah. Yeah. This is my baby, let me tell you. Ignite Me by Terry Maffey. Sorry if I mispronounced the name, because I'm not good at pronouncing names at all. So, I cannot tell you a lot about this book, because it is the third book in the Shatter Me series. Why did I say it like that? In the Shatter Me series. But this focuses mainly on a romance part between two characters, Juliet and another character. And Juliet is our main character. I can't tell you what the first book is about. So, first book starts basically where Juliet is stuck in an asylum because she has done something bad, but she will figure out later on in the book what that is. Not too late, but like around midway, I think. You will find out what that is, what she has done. Not even midway. I think it was like 100 pages in, you will find out what Juliet has done. So, Now, the Reestablishment wants to use her as a weapon because she can kill people with her touch. So the Reestablishment wants to use her as a weapon. But she's like, nah, I'm not gonna let you use me as a weapon. So, yeah, like the boss of the Reestablishment in that part of America, I think, is Warner. And Warner is like evil, I guess. But yeah. And then there's Adam. What can I say about it? I'm not going to say anything about Adam. If you haven't read these books, just go into it blindly. Just go into it. Writing style is very unique. Not for everyone, but I really enjoyed that. And this focuses mainly on romance. Also, the font is big. Look at that. The font is ginormous. So it's very easy to get through. This is a trilogy that I want to recommend to you. And it's the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I actually also have the little novella that comes first. The prequel novella. But I didn't want to show that to you because I actually gave that one 4 stars because I didn't feel like strong feelings towards that book, towards that novella, because it's very tiny. Like, you cannot really judge a novella, you know. So, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I think that As Good as That is definitely my favorite book because that focuses mainly on our main character instead of other characters, if you know what I mean. So, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'm going to tell you the plot of Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It's about Pip, and Pip has a close case. There's a close case in town. It's about a schoolgirl, Andy Bell, and she has been killed. This case is closed. They found out that the boyfriend did it, and now it's just done. But Pip is not so sure about that. She thinks the murderer is still roaming around somewhere because she has strong feelings that this is not the end of it. So, if the real killer is still out there, how far will they go to keep Pip from the truth? Very interesting. And then the next book, which is Good Girl, Bad Blood, follows another mystery because the mystery is actually rounded up in this book. But this follows another mystery with the same characters as in the previous books. I would recommend to read these in order because you will not understand the books otherwise. Someone close to her goes missing. So now, again, she has to solve a mystery. And then in this book, the mystery involves her. Very interesting, right? Yeah. So I would definitely recommend to read these books if you haven't already because these are so damn good. Also, a star rating doesn't always say everything because I did give A Good Girl's Guide to Murder 4 stars and I did give the rest of the series 5 stars. But a 4-star read can also be really good, and I wish I could read this book for the first time again. As did I wish I read The Bridge Kingdom again, even if I rated that 3.5 stars. The last two books that I'm gonna talk to you about are actually ones that I read very recently. I think I read the last book this week even. And then this book I read last week. So this book, Guild by Raven Kennedy. The second book in the series is actually arriving at my house today because I ordered it. I literally begged my mom for her to buy it for me because I didn't have money at the time. But she said no. She refused, so I was pissed. No, I wasn't pissed. I wasn't pissed at her. I was just pissed at the situation. So I decided I'm going to sell some books, and it worked out. So now I'm gonna have the second book in the series. I gave this book 4.25 stars. And recently, I have my highest rating for books since the end of December are 4-star reads, not higher than that. Or 4.5. My highest rating since January or February was 4.5 stars. But still, 4.25 stars is so very high. And I heard bad things about this book, so I was really skeptical and I didn't want to pick this up. But I ended up picking it up anyways, and I have no regrets at all because this was so good. I would recommend to check trigger warnings because there's a lot of unpaid sexual violence. And some scenes actually bothered me a tiny little bit because it was just so graphic at times. But I really enjoyed the story overall. There were some deaths, there were some rape cases and stuff. But overall, there was manipulation too. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this book, I think. But I really enjoyed it. And I will definitely get to the second book today too. So, the story of this is it's about King Midas. It's a reimagining, not a retelling, it's a reimagining, I think. And King Midas has turned his precious, his favorite, into gold. Not solid gold, because she can still move, but she is made of gold. And the story follows her point of view. Her name is Auron? Do I remember that right? I'm not entirely sure, but I think her name is Auron. Auron. So King Midas is the king of the country, obviously, of one kingdom. There are 6 kingdoms, and he is the king of the 6th kingdom. So King Midas has rescued Auron from the streets. He gave her food, shelter, and his heart, and she promised to love him forever. But yeah, that doesn't last for long, I guess. There's a lot of manipulation in this book. Some things didn't sit right with me, but it wasn't taken away from my enjoyment of the story, and I think a lot of people would actually enjoy the story. I actually talked quite a lot about that book. Sorry for that. Darling Venom by Parker S. Huntington. So this is one I bought recently and I read recently. I read it this week. So I want to read this book for the first time again because I love the characters and the world. Like, it was Earth. It was just the real world, but I love the characters. And there was some heavy subjects into this, and I would definitely not wish to be in any of these characters' shoes. But I loved how they did stuff. And I thought that this book would be very toxic, the relationship in it would be very toxic. Because I thought I heard people say that it was very toxic. Turns out I didn't find it toxic at all. I found it very refreshing. Because I'm going to tell you the story. So it's about a girl. She goes to the roof to end it all, to end her life. But then she meets a boy. It's on her 14th birthday. She meets a boy when she goes onto that roof. They make a pact, they make a deal to meet each other on her birthday every year until they turn 18. So she does that. They do that. But on the 17th birthday, something happens. And it says on the cover, my first love ended in tragedy, because her first love ended in tragedy. Actually, I think you can already guess what happened. And then the second began with his brother. So it's best brothers. No, it's a best friend's. No, it's a brother's best friend. Yeah, brother's best friend trope. And it was very heartbreaking at times, but I really enjoyed it. Also, this is also a romance that has a lot of depth in it, and as you probably already noticed, I love a romance that has a good story behind it instead of only the romance being it. There was a lot of denial going on, there was a lot of struggling, and I was there for the journey of it. Those were the books. I am sure that if I look correctly, if I look up my Goodreads, I can actually find more books that I wish I could read for the first time. But that would be so many books, and I cannot keep track of things all of the time, and I cannot keep track of this right now. And I do not know. Yeah, these were the books. I think this was a pretty decent stack of books that I wanted to show to you, and I hope you enjoyed. Hope you're gonna watch more of me, and I hope you enjoyed your experience watching this video. I hope you got some recommendations out of this too. All I have to say for now is bye and see you later. So bye bye.